The old house on Ravens Hollow Road had stood abandoned for nearly 30 years. It loomed over the street like a forgotten specter, its windows dark and hollow, its wooden siding warped with time. Locals whispered about the things that happened inside, about the family that vanished without a trace in 1989. Some said they ran away. Others believed they never left at all. You've probably heard stories like this before, right? Tales of missing families, cursed houses, the kind of ghost stories kids tell each other on Halloween. But what if I told you this one was real? That the police reports, the desperate 911 call, the shattered remnants of a life left behind, all pointed to something far worse than just an abandoned house? In 1989, the Calloway family moved into 134 Ravens Hollow Road. The father, James Calloway, was a history professor. The mother, Evelyn, was a painter, known for her eerie, dreamlike portraits. Their two children, Benjamin, 9, and Grace, 6, were described as quiet, well-behaved kids. Neighbors saw them arrive, watched them settle in, and then, one day, they were simply gone. It was the mailman who first noticed something was wrong. Letters piled up, yellowing at the edges. The newspapers remained untouched on the porch. A week passed before a neighbor finally called the police. What they found inside was unexplainable. The Callaways' belongings were still there, clothes neatly folded in dressers, dishes in the sink, Evelyn's latest painting still on its easel, a half-finished portrait of her daughter. There was no sign of a struggle, no blood, no forced entry. It was as if they had simply stopped existing. But there was one thing. One single thing that made every officer who stepped foot in that house feel cold inside. The walls of Grace's bedroom were covered in frantic, childlike scribbles. They weren't drawings of animals or stick figures, but words. Repeated over and over again in uneven, shaky letters, "The tall man is here." Some of the words were scratched so deeply into the paint that the drywall had crumbled away. No one knew what it meant. No one wanted to know. Over the years, investigators came and went. Paranormal enthusiasts tried to capture evidence of spirits. The house changed hands multiple times, but no one stayed for long. People reported hearing whispers at night, footsteps in empty rooms, the faint sound of a child crying. The house was eventually abandoned, left to rot like an open wound in the town's history. Then, in 2017, a group of amateur ghost hunters broke in, hoping to livestream a night inside Ravens Hollow. They set up cameras, carried digital recorders, and asked the usual questions. Is there anyone here? Give us a sign. Hours passed with nothing but static, until around 3 a.m., when one of them, Jason Carter, went missing. The footage was found on his camera, which had been left in the basement. In the grainy, low-light recording, Jason stands alone, calling for his friends. Then he goes silent. His breathing quickens. He stares at something just beyond the camera's view, then drops the device. For a few seconds, all that's visible is the dirt floor, his shadow stretching unnaturally long across it. Then, nothing. Jason Carter was never seen again. His friends searched the house, the surrounding woods, the town itself, but he had vanished, just like the Callaways. People still say, if you listen closely outside the house at night, you'll hear whispers. Not words, just the sound of something that used to be human. And if you're really unlucky, you might catch a glimpse of him. The figure in the corner of your eye. The shadow that lingers too long. The tall man. Now, tell me, do you believe in ghosts? Or do you think some places simply remember the horrors that happened within them? Before you answer, I dare you to check under your bed. To glance out your window. Just for a second. And if you made it this far, consider subscribing. Because there are stories out there even darker than this one. And you never know which one